Okay, so let's talk about a world where the tools you're using are so tiny they're practically invisible. A world where a single speck of dust can wreck your whole project, and the absolute slightest wobble means instant, catastrophic failure. Now, this isn't some kind of sci-fi movie. This is the very real world of micromachining.
So here's what we're going to cover in this explainer. First, we'll shrink way down to figure out what micromachining even is. Then, we'll get into the really weird physics and the surprising challenges you run into at that scale. After that, we'll look at how you program the perfect toolpath to keep these fragile tools from breaking. We'll run through a pro's checklist, and then finally, we'll zoom back out to see why all of this matters so much for a future.
All right, so first question, just how small are we talking when we say micro? Let's actually define it and draw a clear line in the sand that separates what we think of as conventional manufacturing from this incredible new frontier.
And here's that line, 1/8 of an inch or about 3 millimeters. Once you get smaller than that, you basically entered a whole new dimension of manufacturing. It's a place where all the familiar rules of physics, they kind of start to bend and break. The whole game just completely changes.
And really, this is the fundamental challenge of micromachining, right? You're working with tools that are just unbelievably delicate. As you shrink that diameter, the tool's strength just plummets. Seriously, it's like trying to perform surgery with a sewing needle instead of a scalpel. Every single move has to be perfect, and you have absolutely zero room for error. Okay, now this is where things get really interesting. Because at the micro scale, the strategies that work perfectly for normal-sized tools, they don't just become less effective, no. They can lead to instant, spectacular failure. You basically have to throw the old rulebook right out the window.
Let's take runout, for example. That tiny little wobble in a spinning tool. In conventional machining, it's an annoyance. It might wear out your tool a little faster, maybe mess up your finish. But in micromachining, that exact same wobble is a death sentence. It will snap that tool in the blink of an eye. Gone.
And this is where the mind-bending precision of this work really hits you. The allowable runout can't be more than 2% of the tool's diameter. Think about that. For a tiny 1 millimeter tool, that means your wobble has to be less than 20 microns. That is way thinner than a single human hair. The margin for error is basically non-existent.
And then there's the way the tool actually cuts, or rather doesn't. Imagine trying to slice a piece of cheese, but you're using the back of the knife. You wouldn't cut it, right? You just kind of push it and smear it around. Well, that's exactly what's happening here. The tool's edge radius is so small compared to the chip it's trying to make that it stops shearing the material cleanly and starts to plow through it instead. And that creates a ton of friction and stress on our already super fragile tool.
Of course, we have to talk about tool deflection. The tool actually bending under pressure. It becomes a massive problem. And the numbers here are just staggering. Just look at this. If you double a tool's length, it's 8 times more likely to bend. But if you double its tiny diameter, you make it 16 times stronger. It's this incredibly delicate balancing act where the tiniest miscalculation has huge consequences.
And the challenges don't stop with the tools themselves. Oh no. Even the material you're cutting can throw you a curveball. When your machining features this small, the microscopic grain structure of the metal itself might not even be consistent. And because of that plowing effect we just talked about, you're always in a battle to prevent tiny burrs in a rough surface finish. It's a constant fight.
So, with all these insane challenges, how do you actually succeed? Well, the answer isn't about using more force. It's about being smarter. It's about programming a toolpath that's clever enough and gentle enough to protect these incredibly delicate tools from themselves.
The absolute golden rule here is no sudden movements, no shocks. You can't just slam a micro tool straight into the material and hope for the best. Instead, you have to use these really gentle entry strategies, like spiraling down into the cut with circular ramping, or using a smooth arching motion to engage the side of the part. It's all about easing that tool into the work. And every single type of movement requires its own special strategy. If you're moving in a circle, you have to tweak your speed to deal with the curve. If you're cutting a tiny little slot, you might want a tool with more cutting edges, more flutes for a stronger core. But that means you have to take a much shallower cut. And you always have to slow down when you get to a corner to keep from overloading the tool.
Even a really fundamental choice, like whether to use climb milling or conventional milling, becomes this huge strategic decision. Is your top priority a perfect mirror-like surface finish? Okay, then climb milling is probably your best bet. But what if you're machining a wall that's as thin as paper and you need maximum stability? Well, then conventional milling is the safer way to go. There is no one right answer. It completely depends on the job.
All right, so how do we take all of this and actually put it into practice? Let's boil it all down into a simple checklist for success. Basically taking everything we've talked about and turning it into a handful of actionable steps.
Look, these are pretty much the golden rules of micromachining. It really boils down to having a rock-solid physical setup and a really smart digital strategy. That means using high-precision tool holders to kill that runout, flooding the whole area with coolant to manage heat and friction, and then just constantly, obsessively checking your tool path for any tiny little improvement you can make. Every single detail matters.
Okay, so let's zoom all the way back out for a second and see why mastering all these tiny details isn't just some niche manufacturing challenge. It is a total game changer for the future of all technology.
At the end of the day, the bottom line is this. Micromachining is the key that unlocks the next generation of innovation. We're talking about everything from life-saving medical implants that can navigate our bloodstream to the ridiculously fast chips in our phones to the ultra-reliable components in spacecraft. Micromachining is the invisible force that's driving all of that progress forward.
And that really makes you wonder, right? What's coming next? As we get better and better at this, what kinds of technologies that seem impossible today will become our everyday reality? All because we've learned how to build on these incredibly tiny, precise foundations? The future, it turns out, is a lot smaller than you think.